Good morning and welcome to Holy Week Devotionals. My name is Mindy Clemons, and this morning I'm going to be reading from John chapter 12. So if you would read with me, John chapter 12, beginning in verse 20 through 36. And this is what the text says. Some Greeks who had come to Jerusalem for a Passover celebration paid a visit to Philip, who was from Bethsaida in Galilee, and they said, "Sir, we want to meet Jesus." So Philip told Andrew about it, and together they went to ask Jesus. And Jesus replied, "Now is the time for the Son of Man to enter his glory. I tell you the truth, unless a kernel of wheat is planted in the soil and dies, it remains alone. But its death will produce many new kernels, a plentiful harvest of new lives. Those who love their life in this world will lose it. Those who care nothing for their life in this world will keep it for eternity. Anyone who wants to serve me must follow me, because my servants must be where I am, and the Father will honor anyone who serves me. Now my soul is deeply troubled. Should I pray, Father, save me from this hour? But it is for this reason I came. Father, bring glory to your name." And then a voice spoke from heaven, saying, "I have already brought glory to my name, and I will do so again." When the crowd heard the voice, some thought it was thunder. Others declared an angel had spoken to him. And Jesus told them, "The voice was for your benefit, not mine. The time has come for judging this world, when Satan, the ruler of this world, will be cast out. And when I am lifted up from the earth, I will draw everyone to myself." And he said this to indicate the kind of death he was going to die. And the crowd responded, "We understood from the scriptures the Messiah would live forever. How can you say the Son of Man will die? Just who is this Son of Man, anyway?" Jesus replied, "My light will shine for you just a little longer. Walk in the light while you can, so the darkness will not overtake you. Those who walk in the darkness cannot see where they are going. Put your trust in the light while there is still time, and then you will become children of the light." The word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. So as we look at this section in John chapter 12, I want you to place it where it lay in the week of Holy Week. So we have the triumphal entry. Jesus has just come into Jerusalem, and this is the first time he's predicting his death. And people don't know what to do with the death prediction. So first of all, we have some Greeks coming, and that's important because you see in the Greeks coming to Jesus and his response to them that the gospel is not just for the Jews, but for all people. And so it's actually important that it's the Greeks that come asking those questions. But this week in this text, Christ is moving towards his death. And we know that he's going to die on Friday. But for most people, death is a terrible and a scary thing. And for Christ, it's also painful, but it's something that he's choosing to do out of obedience. He's bringing a solution to the sin problem and the broken relationship that people have with God, and that requires his death. And the beginning of restoration of all things begins with his death. And so it's a strange paradox that Christ's death brings life. And he brings up this analogy in verse 24 about the kernel of wheat. Unless a kernel of wheat is planted in the soil and dies, it remains alone. But the death produces many new kernels, a plentiful harvest of new lives. And so in Christ's death, we see not only the way of salvation open for us and the saving of many lives, but the same principle is still true for us as followers of Christ. We are called to be so committed to following Christ that it is a death to ourselves. And out of that death to ourselves comes new life for other people. And so to be that committed to Christ means that we don't have self-centeredness. We don't have a concern for our own gain. We must undergo really a spiritual death. And that spiritual death of ourselves is a one-time event. When you come to Christ, you believe that he is Christ. You also surrender control of your life to him. That's a scary thing for us, but God has good in mind for us. So at that time of salvation, we choose to surrender ourselves. That's a one-time death of self, but it's also a daily death of self. Every day we make choices. We make choices to not be all about ourselves and all about our own interests, but to pay attention to others and to be about the business of God in this world. And that comes at a cost to us. And so there's a one-time death of self, and there's a daily death of self that brings life to others. I'd like to read just one more verse for you out of 2 Corinthians 5:14 and 15. And this is what it says. It's the same principle. Since we believe that Christ died for all, we also have died to our old life. So we have died. When you come to Christ, you have died to your old way of life. Verse 15, he died for everyone so that those who receive new life will no longer live for themselves. That's what it means to be in Christ, is that you have died to yourself, not just once, but every day. And then in our own self-death, we produce life for others. So my question for you today is, have you surrendered your life to Christ, that one-time decision? Do you not only believe, but you've surrendered all that you are and all that he's given you and all of your resources and your whole future? Have you surrendered that to Christ? And then on a daily basis, are you choosing to live in such a way that it's not all about you? And when you look at life, do you put on, I call these sometimes my kingdom glasses. Do you put on your kingdom glasses and you look at life through the eyes of God, and you remember that it's not supposed to be about you? He paid a price for your life, and you now in turn are meant to live the rest of your life in service for him. So as you think about Holy Week and the death of Christ on the cross, remember that it's a paradox. Death is the way to life. Thank you.